Good evening, Razorback fans. We want to welcome you to the one, the only Hog Talk podcast, live from the Sterling Soap and Roastery Studios. And we're part of the Believe and Buzz Radio networks, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as Buzz 2 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. And all live shows are presented to you by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark, as well as Bet Online. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And tonight we have a special guest, professional storm chaser, avid Razorback fan, Zachary Hall. Man, I've been following all your stuff. I know this time of year it's crazy because you know, being in Arkansas, you have all four seasons in one day. So being a storm chaser, I don't know if me doing satellite. I think we have the same profession, but I don't drive into the storm. I try to get away from the storm. So I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on. Like you said, I'm an avid Razorback fan. So anytime someone invites me to talk sports, I'm down for sure.
So I guess just talk about, what got you into, of course, we all love storms. We all, again, here in Arkansas, when tornado sirens go off, we want to go outside and look at the tornado. It's one. So what got you involved in really from being invested and liking storms and really saying, hey, I want to kind of do this for a living?
Yeah. I grew up with an interest in weather. I've always been a weather nerd, even when I was young, high school. Um, I lived in central Oklahoma for a short time. Well, short time, actually, it was longer, just 3 or 4 years plus. They get some wild weather out there, brother.
Yes.
So that kind of reinforced my interest to move back to Arkansas, where I'm from originally, from a small town called Hackett, Arkansas, which is just south of Fort Smith. Man, we get our fair share of weather here too. So I grew up with that, and I just never lost it. Um, and as I got into high school and then eventually graduated, went on to college, I didn't really have any interest in doing like broadcast news stuff. I love our state meteorologist here. I'm friends with a lot of them. That's not for me. I didn't really want to do National Weather Service. I wanted to be a storm chaser, but they're not really lining up to hire storm
Yeah.
chasers. So I kind of had to carve my own path. I went to college and did some other stuff, and I eventually looped back around to it. And what started as a hobby, chasing storms, traveling a lot, turned into a career. So blessed and thankful to be able to do it like I do.
Yeah, and living in Hackett, going to Central. I remember I used to work in Weatherford, Oklahoma, and I got my first taste of the weather and how fast storms move. People don't realize what an 80-mile-per-hour storm looks like coming in. And I
Oh my
remember
gosh.
I was getting changed to go have dinner, perfect blue skies, come out to tornado sirens, and it was a matter of 10, 15 minutes. The
Yeah.
storm was in Altus, Oklahoma, and it just blew right into Weatherford. So, it's one of those things that, storm chasing's always been fascinating to me. My son loves the weather. He's got autism and that's his niche. He loves weather. He loves chasing storms. And, Joe Pennington was actually from Altus. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
we knew each other for a long time. So for one of his birthdays, I took him up there before. It was right before Channel 5 moved to Johnson. I took him and he got to go inside the storm. So it was really cool for him to be able to witness that. And so I guarantee you that we all grew up watching that show on the Discovery Channel with the Dominator and Reed Timmer. And someone that really, I guess when you talk about really popularizing, other than the movie Twister back in the 90s, he really brought more awareness to people. And I'm sure he kind of paved the way in essence of people who really want to storm chase. What impact has he had on your storm chasing career? And I've seen you've posted pictures alongside of it. How cool is that? You watch somebody on TV and then you're actually storm chasing right there beside them.
It is pretty cool. Yeah, I grew up with Reed, Discovery Channel, Storm Chasers, and movies and stuff. And he definitely reinforced my interest and my love for weather and storm chasing. And yeah, I've been blessed to meet him in person, and I've had lunch with him and spent a lot of time with him, honestly. And he's the same quirky, really smart, cool guy that you see on TV and YouTube and all that. And Reed's a really good guy. But yeah, definitely. He's the Tiger Woods of storm chasing. If they're in a storm chasing world, he's the Tiger Woods. He's He's that brash guy who went out and carved, did things that people thought you couldn't do, and he's still going today. I mean, he still whips my butt. I mean, when it comes to competitiveness, I don't really like to think of it that way, but when it comes to working hard and getting content and doing what we're supposed to be doing, that dude, he doesn't stop. I don't know how he does it, but he's pretty incredible.
And what goes into that? I mean, all right, so just walk through a day. You wake up, and I'm sure you've already gotten with your knowledge in the weather, and you can kind of tell like a couple of days out. All right, I think storms are going to pop off here. So things are going to pop off on a Tuesday. What's your preparations like on a Monday? And then walk us through, you find that storm, just how intense things can really get. And then if you're not careful when a storm changes directions on you, just what's the closest you've really been to danger?
So obviously, when in the weather world, we have a pretty good signal. I like to call them signals, 5 to 6 days out. Doesn't mean it's a forecast; it's a signal. Well, if that signal is persistent through day 3 and day 4, you start to refine that forecast. Are the ingredients there for significant severe weather? Are we gonna do this? By days 2 and 3, we're really starting to get close. The forecast is starting to fine tune. The day before, we're refining our location. Maybe there's one, maybe there's two. And then the morning of, you likely have that, we call it mesoscale parameter space that you're looking at. Are we going to do this? Are we going to make the trip if we didn't leave the night before? I'm blessed to live in Arkansas, so I can reach Western Kansas and West Texas and Central Oklahoma in a day's notice. And, that morning of, a lot of times people may not realize it. We have some incredible forecasting techniques, but a lot of times, man, we don't really know for sure what's going to happen until the day of. Weather is it's tough. And yeah, that day of, I mean, we go out and we pursue, and a lot of things unfold on that day of. But I've been pretty close. I've been very close to a tornado down in Texas. It was on accident. I was chasing at night. I lost service and didn't realize the storm was approaching my location. It made a hard right turn. Just an ignorant mistake on my part. I was pretty young in it at the time. I haven't made that mistake since, but it was like being in a car wash with some debris flowing around, and but I've never been hit by a strong tornado. I wouldn't be here sitting here talking to you if that would happen. But I've been in Hurricane Ian, which was a very strong hurricane, Hurricane Ida. So some pretty intense stuff. But that's what I live for.
Oh yeah, and we get to see your storm tracker. You're on your third one. So I mean, the people that are blessed that you've been blessed by to your sponsors who hook you up with these vehicles and your wraps. I mean, you got a pretty sweet ride, and
thank you.
I think that's prideful that you get to not only do it as a hobby, but you get to be looked as your peers as one of those people that have worked their tail off, paved the way, and really, done this and worked your way up. So when you see your wrap vehicle coming up beside it, and you got to, talk about your partner and just, how much fun y'all have together. And I'm sure you spend a long times in those. You put a post out today, like what was your longest trip? And I think mine was 23 hours, Connecticut to Arkansas. But just talk about your partner real quick and just how long y'all been working together.
Yeah, so most of the spring before, I worked with a guy named Frankie Shepard, and he's, of course, a storm chaser in his own right. We did a lot of work together this spring, and yeah, I mean, a lot of times he drove, and I would sit in the passenger seat and do a lot of the technology side. Man, you get to know a person doing that much traveling, and we referenced the long trip. I was with another guy named Brad Arnold last year, and we made the trip to South Florida for Hurricane Ian. And man, I did not realize how far South Florida is from Western Arkansas. That's a long ways. I've been up to North Dakota before, north central Minnesota, chasing. Man, you just don't realize how far these places are until you actually make the drive and make the trip. But yeah, there's a lot of travel involved. You kind of get callous to it eventually, but doesn't mean it's easy when you punch in the GPS at 10 o'clock and you're 8 hours from home. So this is part of the job. That's what happens when you travel.
Well, and we're kind of blessed where we live in Arkansas. If you're going north, east, or west, you're okay because of 40 and 49. If you're going south, like even to Destin, there's nothing really that takes you south opposed to going through Little Rock, and then you got to go through Pine Bluff, or you go through Brinkley and jut down south that way. So, I mean, that's the longest part of it. I think we were going to South Carolina one year, and my dad gets the bright idea, hey, let's take Highway 64 across Tennessee. And I want to tell you,
Add some
You
hours to
want
the
to talk
trip.
about testing a family and testing their, this is back in the 80s and 90s when there's no cell phones. There was nothing. I'm in the back seat of a Monte Carlo with all of our luggage, and we're going across 64 at 55 miles an hour going across Tennessee. So, that was the longest trip, I should say, it felt like anyways. But yeah, it's just the thing, I guess, is fascinating is what I want to know is, you wanted it to be a hobby. I mean, how hard was it for you to really, and with your family, be like, all right, I'm going to take this deep dive into this venture, kind of like what I do as a
Yeah.
hobby. How much trust did you have in yourself, and talk about your family's, impact on, hey, letting you do that. And now this is kind of, guess, your full-time job now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, before this, I did a lot of storm chasing. I started really going after it in like 2017, 2018, 2019. And then I started to build a pretty good network. And I started to realize, like, hey, I think I have something here. Um, and then a guy named Stuart Rowland, who owns Stu's Clean Cooking here in Western Arkansas, it's a real prominent meal prep company, was the first person to kind of reach out and be like, hey, what's your marketing tools like? What do you think you can do, make something work? And we met, and he gave me the green light to storm chase as much as I want. And I kind of did some stuff for him on the side that would afford me to do the opportunity. And that was when, the professional light turned on to where I did it as a profession. And I mean, it changed my life. I'm forever grateful to Stu and Clean Cooking for that. But once that started, it was, pedal to the metal, traveling as much as possible. My wife was on board. She knew that as long as it could be done as a profession and be financially fruitful for us as a family, she was okay with it. And that came with sacrifice. I'm gone a lot. A lot of people may not realize this, but obviously I'm known as the Arkansas Storm Tracker, but I have a completely separate nationwide. I travel all over the country and pursue severe weather. So if there's something significant going on that I deem as worthy of covering, I usually go. So I'm gone a lot, and I've done that now for the last 3 years. So it's been a lot of work, a lot of travel, and I'm blessed to have sponsors that allow me to do it. And of course, social media does a great job of paying me as well. So
I was just about to add that, what is the social media COVID? We talk about
oh my
COVID
gosh.
in a negative light, and but it's like for the social media content creators and the TikTokers and the YouTubers, that really took shape and form because that's what everybody relied on.
Yeah.
Everybody was in their homes and they got on social media. Also, Cody, thank you, Zach. We enjoy your weather reports. People, your fans. When I looked you up, over 100,000 followers on across a couple of platforms. What impact did COVID have on your career, and how
Mhm.
that helped boost? And last kind of question before we flip over into the sports side of it, what was the feeling like when you kind of just was like, okay, I made it. I've actually got my dream. And you sit back, you're looking at this storm rolling, and you're just like, this is pretty cool that this is my full-time job.
Yeah, there was a day, it was back in 2021, where I was leaving my house and I drove away from the house and I think I was heading to Mississippi. And I was going to pick up a buddy of mine to go with me, and it kind of dawned on me. I'm like, man, this is like, I'm punching the clock. This is my job now. Like, it's COVID was obviously, of course, a horrible thing, but yeah, I mean, it definitely elevated social media usage. People can say what they want about Facebook, complain about it. It is by far and large the most actively used social platform in the world. It's not going anywhere. And it is a huge reason to why I'm able to do what I do. And I'm forever thankful for this platform for allowing me to, because like I mentioned in the first of the podcast, I had no interest in being on the news or working in media like that. I wanted to do it on my own, and this allowed me to do that. All of the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, whatever.
And I was the same way because I took journalism in college 20 years ago, and I was always afraid to be in front of people speaking. And
Mhm.
that's what podcasting allowed me to really break the ice on. That is,
Yeah.
he sees you, they hear you. And then you start the live, and then still you're not looking at anybody, but you're talking to a bunch of people. So, the social media aspect and being able to, there's times that still, you get a little stage fright, but being able to share your stories and talk about, your life. I mean, doing this 5 years, I've got to share personal moments and stuff on this podcast and stuff. And it's been some good, some bad. But it helps break that ice, and really you get to sit back. Like now, my wife, when we got this house, she's like, you can have your own office. And for me, it's like really cool that when we come up to record, I get to come upstairs, have my own space, opposed to we were in a bedroom and I was on an iPhone and on Zoom, so you always remember.
I'm rocking the phone. I got you. I'm in the kitchen right now.
Good. No, you're fine. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, commercial break, and then we're going to hop into, I'm sure, with all the storm chasing and the downtime, the sports aspect and being able to be an avid Razorback fan and get to sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere and you get to scream and be really mad and nobody can hear you, or be really happy with something good. But after the break, we'll come back and we'll talk about the sports side of this story.
Okay, cool.
Attention DIYers and home improvement enthusiasts. Are you searching for the right tools and the supplies to tackle your next project? Look no further than Mentor's Hardware Store. With locations in Ozark, Alma, and Clarksville, our vast selection of hardware and building materials is sure to have everything you need. Whether you're fixing a leaky faucet or building a new deck, most of our knowledgeable staff is always on hand to offer expert advice and guidance. And with our competitive prices and convenient online ordering, Mentor's Hardware Store is your one-stop shop for all your DIY needs. Visit us today and let's build something amazing together. Are you in need of legal representation? Look no further than the law offices of Robertson, Beasley, Shipley, and Robinson. As the oldest law firm in the River Valley, we have been serving our clients for over 100 years, with locations in Ozark, Fort Smith, and Springfield. Our experienced team of attorneys provide expert guidance and advocacy in a wide range of legal areas, including personal injury, family law, criminal defense, and more. Trust in our history and experience to get the results you deserve. Contact the law offices of Robertson, Beasley, Shipley, and Robinson today at 479-782-8813. That's 479-782-8813. Are you looking for a place to grab a cold drink and some delicious food? Look no further than Arkansas Brewing Company. Located at 201 South 1st Street in beautiful downtown Ozark, our establishment offers a wide selection of craft beers and tasty eats. But what sets us apart is our welcoming atmosphere and friendly staff. At Arkansas Brewing Company, you'll always feel like part of the family. So visit Destiny and Christopher Brockett and staff today and see for yourself what makes us the go-to spot for locals and visitors alike. Arkansas Brewing Company, come for the drinks and stay for the friends. Searching for premium brewery products that will take your daily routine to the next level? Look no further than Sterling Soap Company. Our handmade soaps, aftershaves, and balms are made with only the finest ingredients that give you the ultimate grooming experience. With a variety of scents to choose from, there's something for everyone. Plus, our products are crafted in small batches to ensure the highest level of quality. So why wait? Visit www.sterlingsoap.com or visit our retail store at 16 West Walnut Street in Paris, Arkansas. Shop our collection and discover the difference for yourself. Upgrade your grooming routine with Sterling Soap Company.
And we'll welcome you back to the Hog Talk podcast. And we're back with Zachary Hall, professional storm chaser, but alongside of it, avid hog fan. And we can deep dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to being a Razorback sports fan on all sports. But really, the surgence of Eric Musselman, Sam Pittman, of course, what Dave Van Horn's been able to do, I know you probably have a lot of downtime to get able to keep up with the team, watch games and stuff like that. Just talk about the last couple of years, and as long as you've been a Razorback fan, just how enjoyable these past, and then we could transition into, your thoughts on this year's football team and what you think's ahead for Sam Pittman.
Well, as far as the big three go, in my pecking order, it's football, basketball, an extremely close second, and then third, baseball. I am a huge Razorback fan. I live and die by the Razorbacks. You can ask my wife, my closest friends. I'm an emotional mess when it comes to Razorback sports. It's ridiculous, but I mean, I absolutely love I know we've had our moments in football the last few years, but I love what Sam has done. And then in basketball, I don't know how you can not be excited with the recruiting that he's done, or journey through the tournament. Um, and then the future of the basketball program as well, along with the football program and the baseball team. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of a journey this year, but uh, baseball, admittedly, when it comes to baseball season, I keep a real close tab on every game via social media. And then towards the season starts to close out, I really start to pay attention. I like to tell people to get my feelings hurt again. And but baseball, it's definitely something that I could probably watch more of. But football and basketball, I have loved what I've seen the last couple of years. Not saying we haven't had our moments, but I really, really enjoy both of those.
And I'm sure, with the weather playing into the baseball, I mean, everybody's toward that weather for and
well, I'm gone a lot too.
Yeah,
it seems like it never fails.
Time of the year, it's like you're coming out of winter into spring in Arkansas again. We're talking about the changing. We could be having a good day, and then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and you got to be out in Texas. So, and then you think that you look at the regionals and super regionals in Omaha, all the weather delays and stuff. So, I think that is where the casual fans really don't like the weather at times, because if it starts cutting into the sports, they're like, hey, Zach, can you move that cloud about 50 miles north? We got to. So I'm sure you get all kinds of strange requests and stuff like that. But, the football team this year, it just seems like that 9-win season put a little bit of a target on Sam Pittman to keep that momentum going. And I think not having that 8-9 win season last year, I mean, put a damper on the honeymoon phase, as you say. So, I mean, what do you think the pressure outside looking in? What kind of pressure do you think Coach Pittman, I mean, bringing in a brand new OC, brand new DC, co-DC, what kind of pressure you think's on the team this year to really perform and kind of, move? I should say, you can't have another 7-6. You got to bump it up a little bit and have some more success than last year.
And just to start, last year, I truly believe that the reason we did have that damper was the injury bug. I don't think our defense to start was as bad off as we ended up. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that 9-win season put a little bit of an unfair expectation on Sam and the rest of the team and the coaching staff. But then again, I think Sam did a wonderful job of the rebound he did when it came to the coaching hires he's made. I think he's done an excellent job in the transfer portal as well. I really I didn't have a problem with Barry Odom, but I love his replacement. I think he brings a lot of high energy. I think he's a good recruiter. I think Marcus Woodson is one of the best recruiters in the country, and you're going to be hard-pressed to change my mind on that. I think we're seeing the benefits of that on the recruiting trail for this upcoming class. But I think the biggest thing as we move forward into this season, I think a lot of fans want to see us compete. There's no excuse. We have the talent to compete in every game. That doesn't mean we're going to win every game, but there's no reason whatsoever that we can't go in and week out and compete with these teams and make some noise in the SEC West. I don't see any reason why we can't.
Yeah, and the schedule. Everybody talks about the schedule this year and how everything lines up. And, you got LSU, your first SEC game.
Yeah.
So you got three games to prepare for LSU. And I've stated that I like the fact that LSU's before Texas A&M. Something about the Texas A&M game that always just has that black cloud you're playing. And I know that you need to, going down to Jerry World, and it's just like you play better against LSU. And as well as I do, when even back in the day where they played in War Memorial Stadium, they always played LSU tough. And I think that's going to bode well. And again, I've said this over and over again. Do I think that Arkansas is going to beat LSU? Not necessarily, but I think a hard-fought win or a hard-fought loss over LSU would bode better than how last year's game against Texas A&M did, that doink field goal, and just how it kind of just put this feeling. And we were talking about, correlating your storm tracking in the sports. It's almost like you're getting ready to go to this big chase and you have a flat tire, or your vehicle goes down and you've got to go. You've got to go. vehicle, and it just kind of puts a lull on your day. And I think that LSU Texas A&M split. I think you have to split those. If you split that go 2-2 to start out, I think that's going to be very good when it comes into the final stretch, because you've got these games where either you're beating LSU or you're beating Texas A&M. You're getting, again, that team that you just can't. Missouri's another one of them. And catching Missouri at the end of the year, I think, has a lot to do with that, because you're banged up. And I tell you, you look at the East and the schedule that they have to play. You look at a team like Georgia that's had to play LSU and Alabama a total of 3 times since 2013 in regular season. And you can put postseason whatever, but when you don't have to play the best every single year like the teams in the West, I really like this new format where there's no divisions and they're going to pick. You got to play OU or Texas, each one every year. I think it's really going to help teams like Arkansas and of course this new SEC layout. I mean, what's your thoughts on this new SEC that's coming?
I mean, I think it's more fair. I'm all for competition. I do want to, before I move on to the new, I do think that brutal stretch. I think that we are. This is just me. I know people might not like to hear this. I don't like our odds in playing LSU. At LSU. I don't like our odds in Tuscaloosa. I'm sorry. I can't. I have a hard time. But I think that we can play A&M tough enough to win. And I think we can beat Ole Miss. If we can split those 4, or even win one of the 4.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a huge victory. But moving into the new schedule, I love it. I mean, I'm not scared of competition. I'm not. But it is time for Arkansas to have a break. And not that we're not going to play some tough teams. I'm not saying that, but not having to go to Georgia, not having to go to Alabama. We get Texas at home. I think it's a great opportunity for Arkansas if we can, as you know, the transfer portal has changed everything. We can roll out of this season, depending on how much success we have, reload in the portal and have a solid squad going the next season. The sky's the limit. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win a national championship, but I like how things are evolving as we moved on here out of last season. I know some people had a bad taste in their mouth, but Sam's done a good job. I truly think he has.
And it gives you time to break in a new quarterback, because whoever it may be, I mean, it's going to be hard to replace KJ, and them giving Arkansas a break and showing them some kind of grace of like, hey, you're going to have a new quarterback after KJ, and whoever it be, if it's Jacoby or whoever comes in and takes his place. But it really helps you out having LSU, Texas, Tennessee at home. You got Ole Miss at home, then you go to Texas A&M, which is Arlington, Mississippi State, Auburn, and Missouri. So your away game, I just want to talk about the away games. Yep. Those away games, A&M, Missouri, of course, those are games that you're better than the team. And until something happens, until Jimbo does something, I don't have any faith in him. I think he's the most overrated coach. I think Texas A&M is the most overrated program in the SEC.
I agree.
And they in Missouri, but again, I have to say, until Arkansas starts winning that series, you have to sit there and eat it. There was a picture of a hog and an apple, and they're like, I can't believe that well, we got to win the game. You can't let Missouri come in, and this is a team, even as beat up the team is, you still should be able to take care of Missouri. And I think this is going to be a statement year for Arkansas. I think Rocket Sanders, KJ Jefferson, I think they want to go out with a bang. And I'm not saying they're going to be world beaters, but I'm saying they're going to have 2 upset wins this year, at least. They go 8 wins, but they're going to surprise a couple teams that they're not favored in, and they're going to upset 2 teams this year.
Well, I was talking to someone about this today. You've got KJ Jefferson coming back. Man, that dude hasn't been in very many situations he's not going to encounter this year, if any. He's been around the block. He's a seasoned vet. He's the best quarterback in the SEC. Jaden Daniels is maybe the only one I could see the argument for. Very talented. KJ is the best quarterback in the SEC. I think we have one of the best running back rooms in the country, probably the SEC. I know the offensive line has some question marks. I trust Sam and make sure that's taken care of. We got a receiving core that seems to have a lot of potential. The talent is there. We got to go win ball games. That's the bottom line. There's no reason we should have lost A&M last year.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a joke. So
And like I said, you talk about injuries. We're talking about the car, Catalan, and that injury really set the tone for the defense. But you look at the praise that KJ's getting and the lack of talent that has been around him. He's had good receivers. You got Burks, but if you look at the talent that he's had compared to the hype around him and what he's been able to do with his arms and his legs, you got to, even put more respect on his name that he's been able to do what he's done with only one star receiver and Traylon Burks. And so that just shows, if he has a healthy season under his, and he just has a completely healthy season, he's going to blow the doors off of his final year. And that is another thing that he wants to go out of, and knowing that he was respected as a passer too, but you got to have people to throw to. And on the offensive side, that's going to be one of them things that's going to be the biggest question mark. He got some good guys to throw to, but let's see how big those chips are on their shoulders of, like, you got a lot of underdogs. You got a lot of dogs coming in and you're throwing to. And I think that's going to be, you're at somebody going out that is just as hungry as these new cats coming in. And I think this offense is going to really be very explosive.
I agree. I love what I've heard about Isaac Law, if that's how you say his name, I hope. Andrew Armstrong, Tyrone Broden, Jaden Wilson. We've already talked about the running back room. I'm so glad that Marquise Gumm's situation ironed out and that he's coming back. There is no reason that this offense can't compete. You can't convince me otherwise. I'm not saying we're Alabama, but you put Alabama's offense up against ours right now. Come on. There's no reason. Experience matters. KJ's experience, Rocket's experience. I have a feeling that offense is going to have the ability to produce. The question mark for me, I think, is maybe U2 is the defense, maybe the secondary. There's still some question marks. I love the defensive line depth we built. We brought in some good stuff in the portal for linebacker. I'm a huge Paul fan.
Yeah.
The pieces are there. Yeah. The pieces are there. We just got to produce, brother. We got to produce. We got to win shutout ball games.
I think the biggest thing holding Arkansas back from beating Alabama this year is the name on the front of their jersey.
I agree.
This is the least talented Alabama team they've had in probably 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And you could probably, if you want to be honest, go way back to the, 2012, 2013 when they had AJ McCarron and then Coker. That's just how dominant Alabama's been. And now don't you my words of saying that they're not talented. When I say that, and I'm talking pretty much to the audience of, that's just how talented Alabama has been, that this is the least talented. Look at my team in Clemson. This is the worst team they've had since 2011, and they still won 10 games. Granted, they play in the ACC, but that's a whole different conversation and conference. But this sets up where if they stay healthy and they go into these games and they're not intimidated, you win that A&M game because you're not intimidated, or you win that LSU game because you're not intimidated.
Sure.
Now, I will say if they give us a 6 o'clock PM kickoff in Baton Rouge, that's going to be a little bit tougher to win that.
Yeah.
And LSU is on a big high when it comes to their athletic program. Just the baseball, the women's basketball, football's doing, you win the SEC West in football. So, they're coming off a high. So that could really help Arkansas as, how well are they prepared coming into this game?
Sure.
But now you're positioned where you got to start outscoring the other team, or your defense got to step up,
If I'm going to have anybody to go into Baton Rouge for war, though, it's going to be KJ Jefferson. He started there as a freshman, I'm pretty sure. I think he started his freshman year under Chad Morris, and then he went there again in 2021. So this is his third trip back. You can't tell me that dude is not ready. He knows the scheme. He knows how this goes. So we're blessed to have that, but it's still tough, man. It's tough to win in Baton Rouge, especially early in the season. And I don't know.
But you played them tight, last year, 13-10 game. Of course it was 11 a.m. kickoff, but still yet, that
with
was
a second string quarterback.
Game. Yes. And then with Alabama, you had Milroe. If they would have been able to adjust and stop the zone read, that would have been a closer game. It's just,
oh my gosh.
We always say, I think if Arkansas had a name by their U, it'd be what if you. I just think when it comes to and that goes for all sports. What if you? I think I just coined a phrase for Arkansas. But
Yeah.
then you move down to the Donnet, Missouri game. I want your opinion from a fan's outsider's opinion. Why haven't they been able to get this game? Why does Drinkowitz always get to walk out with that smug look, light that cigar, and take that trophy back to Columbia?
Well, I do think that it being at the end of the season is a big problem for us. We've had some major issues the last couple of years with people being really banged up. The COVID year that we went up there and lost, we were banged up. Grant Morgan got real banged up at the end of that, or maybe it was 2020. We got real banged up at the end of the game, and there was, if I'm not mistaken, I think we had a 2-point conversion that we got. Mike Woods caught, and then we let them march right down the field for a field goal. Our defense couldn't stop them. I think us being hurt and banged up had a problem there. The next year we played them at home, we beat them, then we go back again, and the defensive struggles from being banged up. It's the end of the season. We're playing a lot of people who honestly probably shouldn't be out there, but we have to have bodies. If you played Missouri at the first of the season, I would bet my entire month's paycheck that we don't lose that ball game. I don't think we do. And outside of the smack talk back and forth, Arkansas, to me, seems like they're in a different place with their football program right now. But it's hard for me to say that until we start stringing more wins together. I mean, there's no reason at all we should lose that to that ball club. So hopefully this year we put that to bed, because that's getting old.
You have to, and when it comes to OU, Texas coming to the league, there's no more divisions. Missouri's going to be one of them teams you have to beat. You got to beat them. You got to beat Mississippi State. You got to beat the Ole Miss. I mean, Lane Kiffin's not doing, recruiting like, a Kirby Smart or, Nick Saban or Brian Kelly. You've got to be able to take care of those games that you can take care of. Then every other year or every 3 years, beat an Alabama or beat an LSU. You've got to get to the point to where you're top 2, top 3 or top 4 in the West, and that gives you a chance to sneak up and be top 2. That gives you a chance to somehow all the cards play out just right, and you end up winning the West. This is the most, I would say, not crucial, but I think this is going to be one of the most important years for Arkansas when it comes to the trajectory of where this program could go. I mean, we've seen it with
Brett
Bielema and riding high on him, and then he just gets complacent and they fall down. We see, Bobby Petrino and that whole incident. When you think, I think this is where the uptick happens, or we're going to find out, what's going to happen after, the whole Browse and Odom situation. But back to the Browse and Odom deal. I mean, they were brought in to set a foundation, man. Sam Pittman, everybody don't realize, and I think a lot of the frustration when it comes to the Razorback fans, they forget where this team was after, getting blown out by Western Kentucky, and you got they said 25,000 fans in the stands when you probably had 10 to 15.
Yeah,
you had
we were in a different place, man.
And it was horrible. It was the worst time to be a Razorback fan, because you had that. You had mediocre Mike at the helm of your basketball program. And I think also for the athletics as a whole at the University of Arkansas, look at how much success we've had in basketball and baseball. But when it comes to the football program, that's always been the black sheep of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, you have a year kind of like what LSU's had, but you have to have football be that number one priority. I'm telling you, it could do wonders for this whole fan base if you had string a couple of 9-10 win seasons.
I think we are still seeing, even though last year was a struggle, I think some of these kids that have committed to Arkansas, they get in there and they talk to these coaches and they can point out, this is why we had these struggles last year. This is what we're building to. That 9-win season that we had, Pittman's his second year, I truly believe that we're still seeing some of the dividends of that, of these kids watching these games and seeing Traylon Burks be Burks and see KJ do what KJ does. When you have these successes on the field, not only do the fans see it and relish, but these kids who are in high school who are going to play at that next level, they see that as well. No, these kids want to go somewhere. They want to go for winning traditions. And I agree with you. I think this year is extremely crucial. 5, 6 wins ain't going to cut it. I'm sorry. We're in year 4 now. I know that we replaced our coordinators, but we didn't make slouch coordinator hires, in my opinion.
No.
We didn't. We didn't hire. I don't even remember the guy's name that worked under Chad Morris, the guy that came from. I couldn't even tell you where. I mean, this isn't some grade school hire. I mean, these guys know what they're doing. They have high energy. They're proven, and I just don't see why Sam and this coaching staff and the crop of players we have can't get above that 7, 8, maybe even 9 win mark, even with the tough schedule.
Yeah,
I don't see why we
talks
can't.
a lot about Sam Pittman because you everybody again forgets who was wanting to come to Arkansas and coach this team. Nobody wanted to touch Arkansas.
Yeah.
No coach wanted to come. That's where they sent you off to die. And for them to bring in Sam Pittman and him to bring this kind of out of the cellar, now you have people wanting to come and build on what Sam's done. That says a lot of him and his character. And you're going to get a lot of guys that, with this NIL and with, the transfer portal, you get guys who want to come here and play. Some of these guys, this is their last chance. And look what he's been able to do. Look what him and Musselman have been able to capitalize. Not only you're bringing these star players in, you're making them better. You're making them NFL prospects. Yep. And I think that's a thing that gets undervalued is he's developing these players into becoming better people. You look at Drew Sanders. He was just an average guy at Alabama and then ends up coming and becoming, a draft pick in the NFL.
Yep.
So you got to keep the momentum going. I think he's got a fresh start. You've got some guys around him that's really going to could have a breakout year. But I stand by the fact this is going to be one of the most important because we can say all we want. I mean, football matters. Football's at number 1, and I don't think it's a close 1 to 2 and 3. Now, baseball, basketball, you can toggle those, but for the main people, football is the king, and then it's in between football, basketball and baseball. If Arkansas reels off an 8, 9, 10 win season this year with the schedule they have, and then you go into this new, it could do wonders. Pittman's going to get a contract extension, but it's just going to send KJ, one of them guys who's stuck by this program that you don't see with this transfer portal era. You'd hardly see a guy sticking around for 4 years for the program. I think people like that deserve to be rewarded for the work they've put in. And I think that's why I'm leaning more towards that 8, 9 win opposed to them. Again, we don't know how injuries are, but everything plays out. I think the ceiling's 9.
I feel like I've said it 100 times talking here to you, but I can't. It is so important to me as a fan, I think, and as a player too. When you're talking about KJ, he's a full-grown man. This dude is – this isn't some 18-year-old out of high school that out of Sardis. Yep. This dude is a full-blown man who knows he's been around the block. And like you said, in a day and age where loyalty isn't very high, he stuck around. He went through the bad times. I think it's time that he gets paid off in the right way, and I think he's got the tools to do it. I think he's athletically gifted. I don't think KJ gets accredited enough, too, for how smart he is on the field. I know that he's had moments where he's made mistakes, but he's not perfect. There's no telling what mistakes we'd be making on the field. I think he's ready, and I think this is his year. I think that's probably why he came back. I think he could up his draft stock potentially. I don't know a whole lot about the NFL, but I think another thing, too, is we need to get more players drafted. Yeah. I think that's really valuable from a recruiting standpoint. I know Burks, that was probably big for a recruiting standpoint and getting someone drafted in the first round. Drew Sanders getting drafted. We got to start getting more guys drafted. I think Rocket will obviously go to the NFL. I think KJ has a possibility, and then beyond there, I don't know. But we're trending in the right direction. We just got to win ball games. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
if you're not winning ball games,
if you have a year like Musselman did with 3 first-round draft picks, or you have 2 guys go in the first and then 1 go early, in the second round. All that does is boost of what's going on in Arkansas and you're getting guys that, and there is a difference. There is a difference between a portal guy coming over and that 1 year he did a little bit better, but it's hard who gets to claim him per se. But you get a guy like KJ that can go I mean, and get drafted. Now, Rocket, I mean, we know the value of a running back in the league right now. You know, you're not hardly ever going to see a first round top 10 running back. I mean, it's just not how the way the NFL is anymore, you know, because the shelf life of a running back, they don't want to invest the millions in a running back. They can get him on the back end of a contract, but you know, they have the talent, they have the schedule. It's going to be brutal, but it's just a thing that I think that they come through that 4-game stretch and enough where they're not just totally beat down, they have a chance to really finish out those last 4 games.
I agree. I'm ready to endure it as a fan. I can't wait for football to be back around. We're close.
Yes, we're very
media
close.
days. Media days next week.
Yes, sir. That is the
media days next week.
The talking season. That's the unofficial start of the football year. Phil Steelbook's out. Of course, when you talk about Arkansas sports, the Hootens book's out. So I call that the unofficial official beginning of the Arkansas high school beginning of their season is when the Hootens book comes out. But before we go,
I've got Kane Archer here in Greenwood. I know that's quite a ways down the road, but I'm excited to watch some high school football, watch some recruits play. I've got a couple Arkansas recruits down here right down the road that I get to go watch. I can't wait. I love high school football.
Well, that game last year against Northside, I mean, I'm telling you, the way how much time was left in the game? There was not much
seconds.
But no, I mean, they were down like 18 points or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
the comeback was insane, and I told Sully, you got to call. You just might as well just call the call of the year right there. I mean, it's going to take a last second state championship win for him as a freshman, you know, to be able to do that. I mean, it's insane. But
I'll say this: he is, from a fan standpoint. I'm not an evaluator or recruiting evaluator. He is one of the most fluid, gifted, and talented young quarterbacks that I've ever seen. And I can't wait to see how he develops over time. I think he's got a really high ceiling.
Well,
most people do.
Right place. I mean, you talk about quarterback. You can't go with place in Greenwood. I mean, you go back. I watched Brooks Coatney as a sophomore do things that Kane Archer was doing. I mean, he had a receiver that they were breaking national records back then, and I want to say 98. Brooks Coatney and Weibel. I always get Weibel. I think Chris Weibel was his name. Just a dynamic duo. And then Tyler Wilson and Bell, and then, of course, Nolan. You know, you just have these slew of quarterbacks. And me and Kevin Bohannon, we were talking about back when we were in high school, just the play of the quarterbacks back then. You had Zach Clark, you had Josh Floyd, Jared McBride. I mean, we could go on and on and on about these quarterbacks pre-social media that would have, I mean, those highlight films would have blown people out of the water, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess before we break out of here, you know, tell everybody where they can find you, where to start following you if they're not already following you, where they can catch your videos. And I know it's one of them things, you're not a 8 to 5 Monday through Friday guy. So, you know, turn them notifications on when he's ready to roll.
Well, I know a lot of people watching this are likely from the state of Arkansas, so you can find me on Facebook. I post daily. I've posted daily since 2019. Just search Zachary Hall Arkansas Storm Tracker. I've got a YouTube channel, Zachary Hall Arkansas Storm Tracker. I have a Twitter account. It's at WXZachary. And I've got Instagram and TikTok. That's not really Arkansas centrated, but the main ones for sure, Facebook and YouTube. If severe weather, if inclement weather of any kind is on the way, you'll hear from me about it. Now, I don't do 7-day forecast. You can get that on any mobile app or any local news station. But if something significant, you know, a big ticket weather event's on the way, I'll probably have some thoughts on it, and I'd be glad to help you if you're trying to plan an event, or if you're just interested in knowing about it. You'll find it on my Facebook or YouTube or anything like that. So thank you for letting me plug myself. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, that's what we're all about. I mean, it's one of the things that even if you're not in Arkansas, I mean, we support what you do. I mean, it's just one of the things that it's watching those storms come in and the tornadoes and just the sheer beauty, but yet you know the danger of it. I think that's one of the most fascinating things when it comes to this earth. It is watching a tornado. I mean, 1 mile wide, 2 miles wide, and you know there's devastation in there, but you can't stop. you can't help but look at it and watch the beauty of Mother Nature and stuff. But no, we always appreciate you coming on, man. Definitely going to be following your stuff and keep plugging on and give us a shout out every now and then. I'm sure, you know,
Absolutely.
you need some podcasts to listen to while you're on the open road. So hopefully we can be in the rotation.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, man.
Hey, no problem. You have a good evening.
Yeah. See you.
That was Zachary Hall, professional storm chaser right here from Arkansas. Come across his page, linked up, wanted to, you know, do some stuff with him and get him on the show. But before we go, I really want to talk about the time we had at Eureka Springs Zipline. It's in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I'm telling you what, I am personally going to share a personal thing, like scared of heights. I am one of them that is I'm scared of heights, being on the platforms and stuff. But I'm telling you, me and the family went to Eureka Springs and booked a trip. Will and Kendra hooked us up, and you get there and, you know, you get buckled up, get strapped in. 2 guides, one's catching you, one's throwing you, and you go through 9 different little courses. And I'm telling you, this isn't a kiddie park. This isn't the teacups. This isn't small things. This is really legit ziplining through the Ozarks. Beautiful, exhilarating, had a lot of fun. And the coolest thing, the smallest thing, but the coolest thing is they give you these lanyards that you can put your cell phone in, and you can sit there and record yourself and record family doing these. The guides we had, Peter and Ricky, were just amazing when it comes to the knowledge and just having a great time. And, you know, the whole group we were with, you know, going out there and blast. I mean, it's a 2-hour-long deal. It's not like you go ride a couple of zip lines and then you're done. Now, if you just want to ride a couple, they have a 3 where you ride 3 of the zip lines at a little immediate course, and then you can. But I'm telling you, if you ride the 3, you're going to want to do more. I mean, there's 9 total. And they're planning on building more stuff. And it was just an amazing time. You can go to their website at www.eurekaspringsZipline.com or call them at 479-363-8111. Talk to Kendra. She's the one manning the phones. I'm telling you, customer service is, 10 out of 10 on getting us hooked up, getting us to go out there. So we really appreciate them for letting us come and experience that. People that took a chance, 4 owners took a chance, built their own. I mean, this is something they built from the ground up. They bought this land right as you're coming out of Huntsville, coming into Eureka Springs. It's on your left-hand side of the road. Easy to find. When you get done ziplining, they got a little area for refreshments, adult beverages. So definitely you're going to have the best time. I mean, right now I know it's a little warm, but you just wait till the leaves change and the color of the fall. You go out there and book your trip. I'm sure they run 7 days a week. It's one of the things where you get there, I think at 11, and their last one's at 5, but be sure to call them at 479-363-8111 for that. But tomorrow night we got right here live again at 7:00, John Neighbors from the Buzz, Out of Bounds, coming in, Locked On Razorbacks, to come in and talk preview SEC Media Days, get Here's football team, Buzz on Buzz crime. But we'll catch you here live tomorrow at 7 p.m. For Porter Hayes, thank you for tuning in. And again, thank you, Zachary Hall, for coming on, and best of luck. Safe travels on his next chase, but that will do it. And we'll catch you tomorrow night.